You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned. You're watching the People's Television, ABC Amber TV, the voice of Ambazonia. Stay tuned.
Hello there. Greetings, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. This is Dr. Patience Abiedu, and today is a special day. The Department of Women's Services has two programs outlined for you. The first part is starting now with a special guest in our studio to encourage our women during this wartime. And later on, in about an hour and a half from now, we'll have a panel of 4 women and 1 gentleman to encourage the Ambazonian mother, the Ambazonian girl, the Ambazonian child on topics surrounding International Women's Day. International Women's Day is a very important day. We wonder why women are celebrated, because women are really the backbone of every society. Women are the backbone of every household. International Women's Day, March 8th, is a global day celebrated throughout the world, where the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women are recognized. The day also for the Ambazonian woman is a day for us to also pinpoint the ills, the atrocities that have been meted on Ambazonian women and girls and children during this past 6 years of war in our territory. But without any further ado, let me welcome our guest to the studio today. With me as a friend, Mrs. Sheba Posnaski, whom I've known for over probably 10 years. And she's here to encourage our women on this particular day. Before I bring her on, I would like to read a very short autobiography on Ms. Ponoski. And then after that, she will be able to say hello to everyone. Let me pull it up. So, Ms. Sheba Ponaski was born in Uganda to a British father and a Ugandan mother. Both were educators. She grew up in Ghana and attended secondary school in England before immigrating to Los Angeles with her family. She earned her BA from UCLA in World Arts and Culture. Today, she's an independent travel consultant at Our Tour International, a travel corporation. With over 30 years in the travel industry, she has extensive experience with group travel, exotic destinations, and primarily specializes in entertainment and band travel. As a daughter of Africa, Sheba is excited to see the growth of women's empowerment in Africa and to learn how she may partner with like-minded women to understand and support equality and equity in the lives of our African sister. Ms. Sheba, you're welcome to ABC Amber TV.
Thank you, Patience. This is an honor to be here with you and to also speak to women and my sisters in Africa. It is a profound experience to be from Africa and to live in the US and to understand that what I have to say is important not only to women from Africa, but also to Black women in the United States. And then along the way to find out that there are other people who are also inspired and interested by what we have to say. I would have to say I give most of my credit to my parents, and particularly my mother, who grew up in a small village in Uganda. She was one of 10 children, one of 4 daughters. And I would say that education has been the most profound part of the liberation of the women in her family. Her father was a teacher, and he felt it was very important for all of his children to get an education. But understanding the attitudes of men, particularly in the early 1900s, and also African men, he understood that getting money to educate his children was going to be more difficult if he wanted to educate his daughters. So he spent every penny he could to get his daughters educated, and then from there, spent whatever was left and borrowed to educate his sons. My mother excelled, and she became the first woman to graduate, the first Ugandan woman, I should say, to graduate from the University of Makerere, and then went on to Oxford University and returned to Uganda to become a Minister of Education, and that is where my parents met. Further to that, my auntie Margaret, who is also in Uganda, was educated but did not go to university. She too was a teacher, and she too espoused the value of education and had 5 daughters and 1 son. All of her daughters are educated. So what I would like to say is it's possible with one generation and education and strong allies and the support of our fathers and our teachers and our sisters, we can all rise from being just menial servants within a community. Because as Patience said, we are the backbone. We are the ones who get things done. If you want a word to be spread, you ask a man. If you want the job to be done, you ask a woman. And we have to understand as women that not only are our skills that we use in our home valuable to run a household, but we can use all of those same skills to run businesses, to become doctors, to become lawyers, and to shape our communities and society in general. So I would say the most important thing is that as women, we have to develop a sense of our self-worth. We have to understand that we have the right to determine our choices, and we have the right to access opportunities and resources, and the right to have the power to control our own lives within and outside of our home. And this will give us the ability to influence the direction of social change and help others who are maybe less fortunate or have fewer opportunities to strive for the same goals.
Wow. That's really a lot you've said, Ms. Sheba. That's a lot of information. I know you know that Ambazonia is at war. We've communicated, we've talked about it. There was a time that you sent a student my way who wanted to get some more information, and I had some time with this young student from one of the universities. But I want to ask you this question. For that woman who is out there in the village or even in the city that is so embattled because of war and things that there may not be any opportunity, like the opportunities your mother, I mean, your mother, we are celebrating International Women's Day. Your mother was the first woman to graduate from university. That's a huge milestone. For that woman out there who was a child, a girl child, that at this moment seems that it seems all is hopeless. Um, what can you tell her? Because I'm sure it wasn't easy for your mother to have that, be able to go through what she did and excel. I'm sure there were times in Uganda where things were not as peaceful as they are now. So, what is it that you can tell the women that are really in IDPs, internally displaced, women that are refugees that may be watching you right now?
I would say the most important thing is self-worth. You have to believe that that you are important, and your ideas may be small. It may just be one small thing. You're a good mother. You are a good sister. You want to be able to create something. You know that you have skills with medicine, whether it is traditional medicine or an interest in learning Western medicine. It's understanding that your ideas have value and holding on to that one idea. There are allies out there. There are people who will tell you you can do it. You have to believe them, because the first time you try anything, it's not going to be easy. And in fact, this interview, this invitation today is the first time I'm doing something quite like this. I'm usually in a smaller setting with people who I can see, who already know me, who I already know. So I know exactly who I'm speaking to. But because Dr. Patience asked me, and she knows me, I have to believe that I have something of value to share. So you have to have the self confidence to move forward, even if there are obstacles, even if you have self doubt. And you have to be patient. Yeah, it is not a one day or one event or one moment activity that is going to bring you forward. It is perseverance. It's understanding that you are going to make mistakes, that you are going to be emotional, but you have to be self disciplined and you cannot give up. One of the things that my husband and I have told our daughter, who is just emerging as a young professional herself, is that when she has those moments of frustration, we tell her to use those emotions and that level of frustration to motivate her to to get to the next step, to use the energy not to put herself down, but to uplift herself, and not to say, well, I can't do this and this is not happening, but to find a way to push forward and to ask the questions and look for the support and find the hands that are out there reaching out to pull you up and to bring you forward. Really, the most important thing is never to be afraid to ask for help. There are people who you do not know who will be your benefactors, people who support organizations that help women, who will be there to continue to support you. And there are women and men who are there willing to be mentors. One of my cousins, who is also Ugandan, lives in the UK. She is a mentor also of a Cameroonian woman. She she found herself in a situation as an engineer and in sales that she looked around the room and realized that she was the only woman in her department and the only person of color in the department. So she had a lot on her shoulders to carry. So this is a room with 12 people who are all beneath her. All of them are European. And she was the one woman and a black woman.
Mhm.
How did she get there? She didn't get there by herself. She got there from the support of people, but also because other people believed in her and other people told her she could do it. She had no choice. She had to just do it. And now she's in a position where she's trying to make sure that she brings other women up with her. Her sister is also very, very successful. She is a minister of finance. Sorry, she was former minister of finance in Uganda, and she also runs a radio station. This is one generation from parents who were villagers. So it is achievable. And again, it's down to you. It is you believing in yourself and not listening to people telling you that your place is somewhere other than where you want to be. If you want to be in the home, that's wonderful. If you want to be out in the world as a professional, that too is wonderful. And if you want to do both, it's a little bit more of a struggle to find that balance, but that too is celebrated and wonderful.
Wow. Thank you. You know, what you said is really true. Some of us are blessed that we come from a household where our parents believed in the education of the male child and the girl child equally. They did not segregate that because you are a boy, you will be educated, and because you're a girl, you will stay home and raise children. But that's not the case in some other households. And we are at war in Amazonia, but the Amazonia we are fighting for to finally gain our freedom will be that Amazonia that will embrace every child and have every child will have equal opportunities. Every child will see the sky as their limit. So I'm going to change the topic slightly to something that is more painful in terms of what our women are going through in Amazonia in southern Cameroons. Um, you know, this war that has been meted on us for the past 6 years now, we've lost so many uh, mothers, so many young girls, so many children. But one rape that is rampant is rape. Um, Recently, we got news that in a village called Bali, the military went there, about maybe 30 or more of them, and raping girls even as young as 14 and 15. And it's just something that is going on without the government intervening. And these people are at the mercy of the military, who, in their attempt to just subjugate us further, to make us feel as if we do not need to exist, they continue in this crime. I don't know what message you have there. I know this is the first you're hearing of this, but it's something that is happening as we speak. What can you talk to us, to our women now? What can you share with us about this painful experience that they are going through?
Sadly, it's not the first time hearing of this. This is something that we do hear of in the news, and it as a woman, as a parent of a daughter, it is the biggest fear. Um, it's the fear that our young daughters are not going to be able to experience womanhood at an appropriate time, that they're forced into a violent attack on their young bodies and their souls. And the stories of women being raped in front of their children is horrific. It is demoralizing. It is horrific. It is inane. It is vile that a woman should be violated in such a way, but in front of her children is it's a way to take more than just a body. It is a way to control people with fear and to make children feel as if they are not worthy because their parents are not worthy, that their mother cannot protect them. And I would just ask that any young woman, any woman who is faced with this situation where they are raped and they are forced to endure this type of humiliation and pain, both emotionally and physically, go to that small voice inside themselves and remember that this is not something they asked for, that they are worthy of more, and to find the one spark that they have within them to lift themselves out of it. If it is to be a teacher, if it is to be a doctor, if it is to be a lawyer, if it is to be someone who can lift themselves and their families out of this type of demise, just use the one spark to ignite that self worth and find a way to seek refuge and to find the allies, find the people who will be able to help you. I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine it for myself, my daughter, my nieces, any woman to have to endure this. Um, I pray for women in these situations, and I do hope that that there will be a good outcome, and that there will be something that will put an end to this, and the government will find a way to bring these men to justice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's one word you keep on saying that I want to talk about some more. You use the word self-worth. I've heard it several times. And I just want to also echo that word. You just said that even those who are victims of rape, they are worthy of something. So you just said they should look into within themselves one thing that they can grow grow up, they can make big of themselves, and not see themselves as if this was any fault of theirs, that they are victim of cruel society, and they can rise above this and be better people in society that can make changes for other women. So this self-worth is so important, and I hope our women are listening to have themselves empowered more by their self-worth. Thank you so much. I also know that you uh, a board member of a school, high school, and you are really deep into education. So this year, the theme for International Women's Day has to do with digital and embracing STEM education for our girls. Is there anything you want to share with our children, our girls, particularly about uh, STEM education or digital everything? Uh, I'm sure you have something to say since you are a board member of a school that you've been so active in in bringing up a good education for the students out of that school.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is do not underestimate math. Mathematics is as important as English or whatever language you're speaking, French, German, whatever. Um, at the school that our children went to, math was treated like a language. And
Mhm.
if you give math the respect and teach it like a language, it has its own wings. Um, the one thing that you do not understand as a child when you're going to school is that you're going to be a writer and you're going to be using math on a daily basis. Um, First of all, we all expect to get paid. If you don't understand mathematics, you can't tell if you want a 2% raise or a 15% raise. How are you going to come up with those numbers? Um, but it is a language that is international. Math is understood around the world, and it is as important as being able to say good morning, please, and thank you. The other thing is, I never thought I would be a writer, but every single day I write hundreds and hundreds of emails. So it's important to read. It's important to read things that are enjoyable because it's fantasy and fiction. And also, even if it is news about celebrities, hard news about the things going on in the world, it is important to remain literate. So those are the things I would say are very important. You have to also enjoy what you're studying. I did actually start off as a science major. My original university degree was to be a community nutritionist. But back in the 80s, when I was first in university, it was treated as a hard science, and I couldn't see the relevance of chemistry to what I wanted to do and how I wanted to connect with people in helping to solve inequity in nutrition and food, or food, what do they call it, in the food deserts. Um, so I switched and went into humanities, and I found the same major, but instead of focusing on community nutrition, it was on community beliefs, on shared information, history, anthropology, reading, theater, all of the things that are the way that we communicate our values as a society. So, for young ladies who are going to school, the computer is your friend. It is your connection with a world way outside of where you live. So, if you understand technology, you're halfway there. If you understand math, it helps you with finance, it helps you with engineering, it helps you with marketing. And if those scientific skills of chemistry and physiology and physics are not your area, there are other areas within STEM and technology that will help you advance. Um, Find what you like, find subjects that you're good at, and develop expertise in those areas, because those will be the stepping stones to other opportunities. Once you have a proficiency in an area, it gives you a platform to stand firmly on to then take another step. So if you start off with math and you decide that you're more interested in people, maybe then you go into finance and you work with women in figuring out how to develop loans so that they can build their businesses. If you are interested in biology and sciences and you want to go into medical field, perhaps it's finding out how to remain sustainable. That's an area of the world that I'm not as familiar with, but it is really important to do what you like, find your strengths, and nurture those strengths, because those are the tools to your success. Um, Let me think if there's anything else I can add. Um, Another important thing is accepting your flaws. We're not going to be perfect, and no one will ever really achieve perfection. If you have difficulty, again, ask questions, ask for help. If you make a mistake, own up to your mistakes. And if you're having difficulty, ask for feedback, because those are the ways that you'll be able to improve, and you will be able to move forward to gain a more objective view of what the goal and what your mission is. Uh,
Are we frozen? We may have a little bit of technical issue with our guest. Until she comes back, let me just read this little information about the, the theme. While the technician is working on that, I will just read this, and then when she comes back, she will continue what she was saying. So the theme this year is digital innovation and technology for gender equality. It says our lives depend on strong technology integration, attending online classes, calling loved ones, making bank transactions, or booking medical equipment, and so on. However, 37% of women do not have access to internet. And we may be asking this question, how is this relevant during times of war? It is relevant because you may need to be technically savvy to be able to do certain things to benefit yourself. So we may be at war, but it's not the end of the world for you. You have to use opportunities within your means to advance yourself so that once we are able to get the land that we believe belongs to us, once our independence is recognized, then you can participate in nation building. So that means your life cannot be at a standstill just because there is a war in southern Cameroon. You have to do whatever is in your power to advance yourself. This digital innovation and technology for gender equality is so important. And the United Nations observing International Women's Day recognizes and celebrates the women and the girls who are championing the advancement of transformative technology and digital education. So the women have the competence, they have the skills, or they can acquire the skills. Oh, good, you're back.
I am sorry
We
about
lost
that.
you briefly. So I was just reading something, waiting for you to come back and finish your thought. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Now I've lost my. Okay, so um, I'm not sure where you lost me, but as far as
You
using
were
tech,
you were saying that we should be willing to accept failures, that not everything is
yeah,
easy.
yes. So accept your failures. It is important to ask for feedback because the understanding where you have made mistakes will help you to gain more objective perspective on where you're going. So being mindful of your strengths and weaknesses is really important because you'll be able to find people who can assist you either to develop greater strength and also to help you handle situations where you need extra support. Stay focused. If you are working on a task, stay focused, train yourself to stay focused for long periods of time so that you don't get taken down a path which is completely different from the path that you're on. Set boundaries. And this is probably one of the most important things for us as women. We are naturally multitaskers. And if you set your boundaries and you establish that the area you're going to work within on a project has the boundaries, I will be taking care of the social media. I will be taking care of speaking to our tech team, whatever it is. Don't get sucked into a different area because that weakens your power. And I'm not talking about power as power over anybody else, but it's the impact of the information that you're delivering. If you're stretched too thin, your product and the end product is going to be too thin. It's okay to be emotional. If you are saddened, if you're frustrated, if you're angry, these are all things that you need to express. However, you don't need to be volatile. Letting people know that you are dissatisfied is the only way that you can resolve issues. If you let people know that they have let you down, it is the only way that they will step up to where they need to be or where you need them to be. And if you're disappointed in yourself, that too is okay, because there are people who will either affirm that you're on the right path or at least help you to reestablish. Remember also as a woman that we have intuition. If there is a voice in your head and that feeling in your stomach that tells you that something is wrong, explore it. Let those help you guide, but don't let them cloud your your judgment. Keep an open mind, because if you have an open mind, you're more willing to receive information. And all of these things with education and with technology will help you access the information you need and access your resources and access people who can help bring you to the next step. And particularly for those of you who are in remote areas, your mentor may not be within your community, they may be across the world. So keep those options and keep yourself up to date with changes in technology. I'm not so good at that, but I do try to make sure that I stay at the forefront so that I can at least connect with people. I'm not so good with social media, but I still use my email, I still use my WhatsApp, I still use texting, and of course the old fashioned phone as well. And when you make a mistake or hurt someone's feeling, apologize. Those are the kinds of things which will endear your team, and your team being your parents, your sisters, your teachers, your mentors, to continue to support and to enrich your life. I think that about covers it from my side. Um, and I guess the other thing, remain adaptable. It goes back to being open minded. But if you're adaptable and somebody gives you a task that is outside of your grasp, if they think you can do the job, you probably can. They see something that you may not see in yourself. So remain adaptable and you'll grow.
I like that. Remain adaptable. That's so important. That's so important. Yeah, we're coming to the conclusion of this section of our program today. We have another program later on with a panel of about 4 or 5 women and a gentleman join us. But as we end, I want to read this so that we have an idea of what really is going on in terms of inequality or the lack of equity in the world. They say that globally, over 380 million women and girls are living in extreme poverty, living on less than $1.9 a day. If current trends continue in sub-Saharan Africa, more women and girls will live in extreme poverty by 2030 than today. 2030 is not far from now. It says globally, nearly 1 in 3 women experience moderate or severe food insecurity in 2021. Rising food prices are likely to exacerbate hunger around the world. And then it says unsafe abortion is the leading but preventive cause of maternity mortality and morbidity. That's another problem when it comes to women and health. Today, over 1.2 billion women and girls of reproductive age live in countries and areas with some restrictions on access to safe abortion. We are getting that here in the United States. It's getting there, but that's a story for another day. 102 million live in places where abortion is prohibited altogether. And the fourth item, protracted conflicts, wars, and renewed efforts to keep girls out of school perpetuate gender gaps in access to school and learning. 54% of girls who are not in formal education worldwide live in crisis-affected countries. And we are one of those countries, Ambazonia, Southern Commons. And number 5, gender equality. At the current rate of progress, it may take another 286 years to remove discriminatory laws and close prevailing gaps in the legal protections for women and girls. So we are celebrating International Women's Day today, but it's telling us that it may take another 286,000 years for things to be right between the sexes. I just thought I should read that. And I'll read one more thing and then we'll end today. Globally, more than 1 in every 10 women and girls aged 15 to 19 were subjected to sexual and physical violence by an intimate partner in the previous year. Let me just end by saying that I want to thank you. I will give you a minute to just give your closing remarks and say and appreciate you for being here with us today. Then I'll close the program for today. So over to you, Shiba, your closing remarks.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing is develop self-worth. You are worthy of love, and the first person who needs to love you is yourself. With self-worth, you develop the right. Well, let me rephrase that. If you have self-worth, you will feel empowered. And if you're empowered, you will understand that you do deserve the right to control your own life, both within and outside of your home. And you will then also inspire others to follow your path. One thing I remember reading, and I'm terrible when it comes to quotes, is Maya Angelou mentioned that more people will see you from behind than from in front. When I first heard that, I sat there thinking, what does that mean? And then I understood that when you're walking, you have no idea who is behind you. You have no idea who is following behind you literally and also figuratively. So do the best that you can. If you do the best that you can, you have nothing to apologize for. And with that, you will inspire others and you will inspire yourself when you reflect back. So live your best life. Help your sisters. We're here together. We're not like a TV show like the ones they have here in the US, like Real Housewives. We don't need to be fighting over things like clothes and shoes, and certainly not men. Men are there to support us and to help us raise our families, but they do not define who we are. We define who we are. We are important, we are worthy, and we deserve everything that is available. Live your best life.
Live your best life. I just want to thank you so much, Shiba, for being our guest today on ABC Amber TV. And I really hope that our women have watched you today, or those who did not have access today have access to the program later on to watch on Facebook, YouTube, on satellite, which could be played later on. And your take-home message that we all should develop self-worth, that with self-worth, you will be empowered to choose your own path to reach the height. They say the sky is the limit. With self-worth, you'll get to the sky. That is the limit. Thank you so much. And I just want to say Happy International Day. Happy International Women's Day to those of you watching from the diaspora, from refugee camps, from the homeland, from neighboring La République du Cameroon. And we know we have a lot to do to get our land back finally, where we can make sure that our girls, our girl child, have the best possibilities to be women that will be impactful in our societies. Thank you so much. And stay tuned. In the next 30 minutes, there will be another broadcast here on ABC Amber TV with the panelists to continue the subject, celebrating or remembering or acknowledging International Women's Day. Thank you, Director. Technical team, we can go ahead.
Wednesday, March 8th is International Women's Day. It is a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women around the world. It is a day to showcase the progress made towards achieving gender equality. It is a day to remind the world that much work is needed to bridge the inequality gap. It is a day to bring attention to issues of gender equality, reproductive rights, and violence and abuse against women. Join the Department of Women's Services of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia for 2 exciting programs on ABC Amber TV, beginning at 7 p.m. Amber time with a special guest, and at 8:30 p.m. Amber time with a panel of 4 women from the interim government. We intend to vehemently condemn the atrocity of rape, now a weapon used by La République du Cameroun on the women of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Please join and watch on ABC Amber TV satellite, or on YouTube, or on Facebook. Equality means creating an inclusive world for all women and girls. Let's all embrace equality. Let's all embrace equity. Thanks. And this is Dr. Patience Abiedu, popularly known as My Patience. Wednesday, March 8th is International Women's Day. It is a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women around the world. It is a day to showcase the progress made towards achieving gender equality. It is a day to remind the world that much work is needed to bridge the inequality gap. It is a day to bring attention to issues of gender equality, reproductive rights, and violence and abuse against women. Join the Department of Women's Services of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia for 2 exciting programs on ABC Amber TV, beginning at 7 p.m. Amber time with a special guest, and at 8:30 p.m. Amber time with a panel of 4 women from the interim government. We intend to vehemently condemn the atrocity of rape, now a weapon used by La République du Cameroun on the women of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Please join and watch on ABC Amber TV satellite, or on YouTube, or on Facebook. Equality means creating an inclusive world for all women and girls. Let's all embrace equality. Let's all embrace equity. Thanks. And this is Dr. Patience Abiedu, popularly known as my patience. Wednesday, March 8th is International Women's Day. It is a day to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women around the world. It is a day to showcase the progress made towards achieving gender equality. It is a day to remind the world that much work is needed to bridge the inequality gap. It is a day to bring attention to issues of gender equality, reproductive rights, and violence and abuse against women. Join the Department of Women's Services of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia for 2 exciting programs on ABC Amba TV, beginning at 7 p.m. Amba time with a special guest, and at 8:30 p.m. Amba time with a panel of 4 women from the interim government. We intend to vehemently condemn the atrocity of rape, now a weapon used by La République du Cameroon on the women of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. Please join and watch on ABC Amba TV satellite or on YouTube or on Facebook. Equality means creating an inclusive world for all women and girls. Let's all embrace equality. Let's all embrace equity. Thanks. And this is Dr. Patience Abiedu, popularly known as My Patience.
The evil specter of rape, it crawls in the dark, its victims by stealth, it hacks. We saw it, we watched it. 11th February 2023. That night, the killer without a face broke brutally into the Ambazonians' consciousness, evoking hate and distaste. Its form was crude and callous. We were enraged, dismayed. Genocide was the topic that night. Like the executed, gathering minute details of his own execution, we listened to the horrid story that makes up our history, which, like a heavy cross, we keep dragging behind us. Tears welled up in our eyes, glistering like fireflies in the dead of night. Then suddenly, shrieks and loud wailing pierced through the silence, arresting our attention. An impromptu group surged to investigate. There were sobs. There were cries that cut through the heart. Then the young lady said, "I have been raped." A gasp went through the crowd and hung in the cloud. She stood in full view of all, a girl of 17, mother of a newborn child, still breastfeeding. She told of her fruitless efforts to beg the state's officer, a man fully clad in La République's state uniform, out in the field to protect the state's citizens, not to molest her, to listen to her concerns, and to respect her. But this state officer, a hyena in state uniform, an opportunist with no modicum of decency, grabbed and dragged his unwilling prey at gunpoint into an inner office where a state senior officer was waiting. He raped her with a gun pointed at her head. This daughter of Ambazonia, her world closed in upon her. It came crashing down at her feet, her tears coursing down like a stream. This was death. She was inconsolable. Friends and sympathizers talked of calm to a desolate child her heart torn in the frantic effort to articulate her predicament. This woman was alone in her loneliness, the embodiment of a multitude of women the world over, silent victims of the horror of rape. Can they eradicate their wounds engraved in their hearts? Those graphic memories that hurt like jagged swords and cling like the stench. She had been made into a shadow. In her, we have met them all, the traumatized, the degraded, the humiliated victims of rape. The girl felt dirty, like a handbag drawn out of a pit latrine. Words to articulate the unexplainable escaped her. Sympathizers, there were in plenty. Yet alone she stood, her memories racing like mice on a clean floor and pulling her mind apart. Her own body had of a sudden turned into an object of hate. Her concept of society, now a valueless construct. Her destruction was complete. Threatened with death, she now lives with death. Gladly would she eradicate every sense of that loathsome experience to live again. Don't cry, they said. Ah, yes, let her belt it out for women's freedom's sake. She, the embodiment of millions of degraded women. Rape is the encounter that despoils a woman of all that she is. But be of good courage, daughter. The end is not yet. Ambazonia will never forget. God, your creator, knows you and your worth. He will visit you with joy and many others with you. By Ma Eli Jambelele.